Hey guys, Sue's here. Welcome back to another What's for Dinner on Keto. Easy keto meal ideas and keto recipes to help you with your keto meal prep for the week. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. This week's video is special as it is a huge collaboration hosted by the lovely Julia Pacheco. And I will have a link down below in the description box. Keep in mind all of the other ladies in this collab are doing full carb meals, but they will be awesome for you to check out to gain inspiration for cooking for friends, family, or other people in your household who are not living a keto lifestyle. Meanwhile, let's get to our keto cooking. I wanna catch the wave. First up, we're making these awesome beef stroganoff burgers from Peace, Love, and Low Carb, link down below. Used 1.5 pounds ground beef, added 3 tablespoons chopped Italian parsley, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, a heaping teaspoon of minced garlic, and a dry spice seasoning blend of 1 teaspoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, a 1/2 teaspoon sea salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon black pepper. Just mixed that all up really well. And then I'm just going to form this into 4 nice sized patties. I do put a little indentation in the middle of my patties just to help them maintain shape as they're cooking. Then I did them over medium-high heat, saute pan, and just cooked them for like 2 to 3 minutes on each side. They're not going to be fully cooked at this point, but we're going to go ahead and remove them to a dish and start working on our cream sauce that's going to make it stroganoff. So after I removed those from the pan, I added 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 2 tablespoons of cooking sherry. And then I just deglazed the bottom of my pan, added about a 1/2 cup of chopped onion, and then about 6 ounces of mushrooms. I did use shiitake mushrooms here instead of cremini, and they do have double the carb count at like 1.2 per mushroom piece, so keep that in mind. Added another heaping teaspoon of minced garlic, and then I just started cooking those down. I'm going to cook those until my onions are nice and caramelized and my mushrooms are tender. It's going to kind of make its own sauce. Then I added a cup of beef broth to that, and then I added 2 beef bouillon cubes, and of course you're always going to want to check the carb count on those. Once those dissolved, I added 3/4 a cup of sour cream and 1/4 a cup of heavy cream, and then I just whisked that together and cooked it until it got nice and thick. Now, I was kind of impatient making this sauce, and it didn't get quite as thick as I liked, so I added about 3/4 a teaspoon of xanthan gum to it and whisked that in really well, and then that gave me a thicker consistency for my sauce. And I do like to let it sit on the surface for a second. It seems to help it get thicker better. And then I just added my hamburger patties back to the pan and cooked them for another 10 or so minutes, and here it is all plated up, topped with a little parsley. I did serve it over cauliflower rice, and it was super good, perfect keto comfort food recipe. Next up, made this awesome beef stew with keto biscuits. Now, I had seen someone else do a recipe like this, but I decided to come up with my own version of this as theirs seemed a lot more complicated. So to start with, I took a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, added it to a dish with 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce and 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar with 1/4 a teaspoon of thyme. Whisked that together really well. Took 2 pounds of chopped up beef stew to a crock pot with a teaspoon of sea salt and 1/2 teaspoon ground pepper. Added a heaping teaspoon of minced garlic to that, along with about 1/2 of an onion, just roughly chopped. 2 cups of radishes that I chopped in half, and then the bigger ones I did go ahead and quarter. And then about 1.5 cups of rough chopped celery. I think this was about 3 celery stalks. Then I took the mix that we just made and poured that over the top. Added 2.5 cups of low sodium beef broth to that. And then I just put the lid on and cooked it on high for probably 5 to 6 hours. I did stir this periodically to make sure my radishes were getting all the way down in the crock pot so they could get nice and tender. And then I used a slotted spoon to scoop out my roast and my veggies after it was done into an oval casserole dish. Then I added about 3/4 to a teaspoon of xanthan gum to my gravy that was left in the crock pot and whisked it up really well so that it could thicken. And then I just used a ladle to scoop that out into my casserole dish. And I think I scooped out almost all of the gravy, but I didn't want it to be overflowing. I just wanted it almost to the top. Got started on my biscuit mixture. So for that, I took a cup of almond flour, 3 tablespoons of coconut flour, and then a dry mix of 3/4 teaspoon sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon xanthan gum, and 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. Added 6 tablespoons of melted butter to that. Whisk that together really well before adding 1 egg, 1/3 of a cup of almond milk, and 1/2 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. And then I just mix that really well with a big spoon. And then I just kind of portioned this dough mix out into 8 biscuits and put those on the top of my casserole dish. I do have my oven preheated to 375, and I popped those in there for about 25 minutes. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. And here it is all plated up. This was so good. And look at those radishes. They almost look like potatoes. This is another good keto comfort food staple, and we will be making this again. Next up, my favorite recipe of the week, this yummy cashew chicken from Keto Connect. So to start with, I took 1/4 cup of raw cashews over low heat and toasted them until they were fragrant and lightly browned. Then I turned up the heat, added a few tablespoons of avocado oil and about a pound of diced up chicken breast. And I'm just gonna cook that on through. Now the recipe, of course, I changed it up a little, but the original will be linked down below. I went ahead and added some sea salt and some pepper to my chicken. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cook that all the way through. Now, once my chicken was cooked through a little, I added a veggie mix. This is about a tablespoon of chopped up green onion, about 1/2 of a nice sized bell pepper, and about 1/4 to 1/2 of an onion roughly chopped, along with 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. I probably added more, closer to a teaspoon. A whole tablespoon of minced garlic and 1.5 tablespoons of chili garlic sauce. I think the one that I use is made by the same people that make sriracha. Super, super good. Make sure you check your carb count on all of this. And then I went ahead and just mixed it up and kept cooking it over pretty medium-high heat until my veggies started softening up a little. To that, I added 1.5 tablespoons of liquid aminos and 1 tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, and kept cooking that up until the liquid started reducing some. Added my cashews back in, and then I'm just going to continue to cook this over high heat until all of the excess liquid is gone, and I'm left with this sticky, awesome yumminess texture that cashew chicken should be. And here's what that looks like. And then to serve this, I just topped it with a little sesame oil and some sesame seeds. I thought about serving it over zoodles or cauliflower rice, but honestly, it has enough carbs in it with the cashews and the veggies alone, so I left it as is. This is super spicy and super delicious, and my favorite keto recipe of the week. Lastly, I made an old standby around this house, which are cumin baked pork chops. So to start with, I just took 4 bone-in pork chops, salted them, and took some Dijon mustard with a silicone basting brush and just brushed that on there. I did not measure this out. Did the same thing to the other side. Salt, salt, salt. Then I went ahead and added a generous amount of pepper and cumin to each side of my pork chops. I went ahead and made sure that my oven was preheated to 400, added some avocado oil to a cast iron skillet, and went ahead and seared these pork chops probably about 3 minutes on each side, really, really well. And then I popped them in the oven for another 25 minutes in the cast iron skillet. This is what they look like when they come out. Super duper easy. Here it is plated up. I just served it with a little steamed broccoli seasoned with Mrs. Dash Table Blend, which is one of my new favorite seasonings to use, with a little butter. These are a staple around this house and an awesome, easy keto meal that stores well for all week. So there you go, guys. That's this week's What's for Dinner on Keto. Easy keto meal recipes for your keto meal prep. Thanks again to Julia Pacheco for this awesome collaboration. Again, make sure you check the link in the description box for the playlist to see all of the other lovely ladies' videos. Just be warned that they will have carbs in theirs, but it will give you some great ideas for recipes to cook for your family and friends. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment so that our video can get seen by even more people trying to follow a keto diet and live a keto lifestyle. Bye, guys.
I wanna catch